Assalamu alaikum everyone. This is Ayman Nazir and welcome to Knowledge Realm. So students, we are studying history of USA and today we're going to study lecture 2 of history of USA. This is a very interesting story and a little cruel also. Today we're going to study discovery and colonization of America by European conquistadors. So stay focused and let's get started. America was discovered by Christopher Columbus in 1492 AD. Well, there is no authentic or confirmed record of the roots of Christopher Columbus. Some people believe, some scholars believe that he was from Italy. Some believe that he was a Portuguese, he was from Portugal. But here, let's just assume that he was a Portuguese, he was from Portugal. This is not confirmed, but let's just get comfortable with this and let's just assume that he was a Portuguese. But the thing that is confirmed is about his voyage. The voyage of Christopher Columbus to America was sponsored by Spanish King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella. This thing is confirmed. Spanish Empire sponsored the voyage of Christopher Columbus. Christopher Columbus convinced these two people to sponsor his voyage to America because he actually wanted to discover a sea route to India. So he convinced these two people, he brought these two people around and he took some money from these people and he took a fleet of 3 ships, Nina, Pinta and Santa Maria, on a voyage to discover a sea route to India. But he did not reach India, rather he discovered an entire new world. He landed on Guanahani and renamed that island as San Salvador. He called that island San Salvador. After that, the island was called Bahamas, and today we know that island as with the name of Bahamas. And all this happened in 1492. He discovered this in 1492, and I think it was October of 1492. Then he moved to a much larger island, Hispaniola, and he met Native Americans there. He met Native Americans there and he believed that these are Indians because he believed that he had reached India. He believed that he had successfully discovered a route to India, or I should say Asia, because he wanted to go to Asia. So he called these people Red Indians. Then he came back to Spain and he was welcomed warmly in Spain, and he was believed to be a hero who has discovered a new route to India. And from 1492 to 1502 he made 4 trips to the continent and he died in 1506. But the interesting thing here about Christopher Columbus is that until his death he did not know that he had discovered an entire new continent. In fact, he believed that he had discovered a route to India. He did not know that the place that he has discovered is not India but an entire new continent. Then in 1506, an Italian sailor, Amerigo Vespucci, visited the continent and he realized that this is a new world and this is not India, this is a new world. And then people started believing that this is a new continent, the hidden part of the world that was undiscovered. And Christopher Columbus has discovered a new part of the world, a new continent of the world. The continent was therefore named after Amerigo Vespucci and it was called America. People gave new names to this world. They called this piece of land New World, Golden Land and Strange Land also. So this was a short story of discovery of America 1492. Well, I have briefed this story here, but this is enough for all of you to know. So we have studied the story of discovery of America. We know now that Christopher Columbus was the person behind the discovery of America. But what were the factors behind discovery of America? What were the things that led to the discovery of America? What was the situation of the world at that time? And what were the factors actually behind the discovery of America? So now we would study the factors behind discovery of America. First of all, blockade of land route to India by Ottoman Empire in 1453, or we should say that blockade of land route to Asia by Ottoman Empire in 1453. Well, we all know that Ottoman Empire and the Byzantine Empire, these two empires were in fight constantly. These two empires were rivals. Ottoman Empire was Muslim and the Byzantine Empire was Christian. So these two empires were fighting constantly in 15th century. And then in 1453, Sultan Mehmed II of the Ottoman Empire defeated Byzantine Empire and conquered Constantinople. After that, to strangle the Europe economically, Ottoman Empire blocked the European way to Asia. Now here you can see that there is a land route from Europe to Asia, and it is from Turkey. It is from the area that the Ottoman Empire ruled at the time, from here Rome to Constantinople and then to Asia. This is the Silk Route, India, China and to Asia. This was blocked by Ottoman Empire after the fall of Byzantine Empire. Now Asia was the trade market for finished products of Europe and a source of raw materials also. Europe used to sell its products in the market of Asia, and Europe used to extract raw materials from Asia. So after this blockade of land route to Asia by Ottoman Empire, Europe faced economic crisis, and it could not afford this blockade, and it was desperate to find another route to Asia because at all cost it wanted to reach to Asia. So this was the first factor behind the discovery of America, blockade of land route to Asia by Ottoman Empire in 1453. Now another factor behind the discovery of America, social crisis in Europe. Europe was facing social crisis at the time, and there was an outburst of European population. People did not have land to live. There was a scarcity of land. People were more, but the land was less. People were starving and indulged in theft, robbery, and killing for food. And people were facing a very difficult time in Europe, so they wanted more land where they could reside, where they could live. So they wanted more land, and they wanted a route to Asia, especially. Europe calls 14th century Dark Ages owing to the economic, cultural and social decline it faced. Then another very important factor behind the discovery of America was the advancement and technology in science. 15th century was the era of advancement and invention. The idea that the earth is a sphere was accepted, so many sailors, they started believing that if we go westward from Europe, we would definitely reach Asia because the earth is a sphere, so we have to go the other way and we should go westward. So this was a thing that encouraged many sailors to go on voyage and to find a new route to Asia. So Christopher Columbus also gave the idea of going westward to reach India. Then compass and astrolabe were introduced. These were the two instruments that the sailors used at the time. These were introduced that made the navigation safer and encouraged seamen to seek new routes. This right here is astrolabe. I don't know how they used it. I've just seen the pictures, but this is astrolabe, and these were the things that encouraged sailors to seek new routes and that bolstered the confidence of sailors. Now two more factors behind the discovery of America. First of all, greed for Indian resources. Well, students, in 1095, Urban Pope II called upon many Europeans to fight the war with Muslims in Asia. because he believed that there is a threat to Christianity in Asia, and Byzantine Empire is just about to fall. So just start a war and just defeat the Muslims and conquer the Holy Land of Constantinople, and just end the rule of Muslims in that land. So thousands of Europeans traveled to the east to fight crusades, and it happened in 1095. And when they went to east, they went to Asia. There they were exposed to many new tastes, ideas, interests, foods, and natural resources. They got they were impressed by the silk clothing and the spices of India and all the resources that they were exposed to in India. So these things aroused a greed in them for Indian resources. They had a desire not to stop trade with China and India. So they wanted to continue trade with Asia. And Ottoman Empire blocked their route, their land route to Asia, so they were desperate to find another route to Asia because they were greedy for Indian resources. They had tasted all these things in 1095 and they wanted these things at all cost. Then another factor behind the discovery of America was the Marco Polo's account of his travels in East. Marco Polo wrote in his accounts about the jewels, the spices, gold and the silver, clothing, new food, and new ideas of East. So people were fascinated by the travelogue of Marco Polo, by whatever Marco Polo wrote in his travelogue. So they wanted these things at all cost. They were fascinated by these things, and they had a greed for these resources. So these were the factors behind the discovery of America. Now we have studied the factors behind the discovery of America, and we have studied the story of discovery of America. We know that Christopher Columbus discovered America in 1492 because he was on a journey to discover a new sea route to Asia, but he ended up discovering America, which was an entire new continent. Now we would study colonization of America by European powers, by European imperial powers. We have studied the advent of Europeans in America. Now we would study the colonization of America by European powers. First of all, I would like to give the definition of colonization. Well, it is very simple. Colonization is the act of taking control of an area or a country that is not your own, especially using force and sending people from their own country to live there. And this is what happened to America at the time, and this is what European powers used to do. They used to send their people from their own country to the country or the territory that they wanted to colonize, and then slowly they used to creep in the politics and in the economic matters of that land, and then eventually they used to take control of that land. Now the imperial powers of Europe that colonized America, these were Spain, Portugal, France, Dutch, and in the end, England. And we would study all these powers today except England, because the story of colonization of America by English powers, by English colonizers, this is a very long story, and we would study this story in a separate lecture. So today we would study just the Spain, Portugal, France, and Dutch. So Spain was the first to colonize America. Christopher Columbus discovered America under a voyage sponsored by Spanish king and queen in 1494, and Christopher Columbus was in search of gold and jewels, so he landed on the land of America, and he had heard the stories of Marco Polo's travelogue of China and India, and he was inspired by this travelogue of Marco Polo, so he wanted gold and jewels at all cost, because he lured the king and queen of Spain, and he told them that he would extract these gold and jewels from India, and he would bring all these things to Europe and to Spain. So he wanted these things at all cost. So he started extortion of money in America. First of all, he made his control over the Bahamas where he landed, and he started extortion of money in America. And now here I would like to disclose a very cruel truth, that Christopher Columbus was actually not a hero, but he was a very cruel person, and he inflicted cruel treatment on indigenous people of America because he wanted gold and jewels at all costs. But he did not know that he did not reach India. In fact, rather he reached America, and there he could not find the things that Marco Polo talked about in his travelogue. So he got angered, and he started persecution of the American people. He started killing those people. He inflicted cruel treatment on indigenous people. He started amputation of limbs of those peoples, and he made them work 24 hours for the extraction of these precious jewels and golds from that land. But this was not possible because there was no gold and jewels in America. I mean, yes, there was gold and jewel in America, but not in that area where Christopher Columbus was fighting. So he inflicted cruel treatment on indigenous people, and he was not a hero. In fact, he was a very cruel and brutal person for Native Americans. Then other Spanish conquistadors followed suit, and they also went to America, and they did everything to extract the precious resources of America. The Spanish started colonization of America right after its discovery. It was discovered in 1492, and in 1494 Spain and Portugal both signed a Treaty of Tordesillas. Now, what is this treaty? This was a treaty between Spanish government and Portugal, and a line was drawn 1100 miles west of Canary Island to divide the area to colonize. Now, this was the line. I don't know which color to use. This was the line, and it was decided that the area on the west of this line would belong to Spain, and all this area is for Spain, and Spain can do whatever it wants to do with this area. And on the east, this territory would be the property of Portugal, and Portugal would do whatever it wants to do with this territory. So Spain discovered America in 1492, and with the discovery, these two rival empires started fighting for the colonization of this new land. So they just signed a treaty, and they said that okay, we would colonize peacefully and we would not fight with each other, and the west of this line is for Spain and the east of this line for Portugal. So this was the Treaty of Tordesillas, and this was just the beginning of colonization of America. Christopher Columbus started ruling the Caribbean island Hispaniola, where he landed. He set his rule there, and after Christopher Columbus, Spanish conquistadors swarmed the newly discovered land because they wanted jewels and gold. They were ruthless, tough, brutal, and cruel sailors. They persecuted Americans and spared no life in those areas where they invaded. They roamed the New World in search of gold, silver, and spices as promised by Marco Polo. And in their exploration, they made a Spanish empire, because this is the thing that they wanted to do in that new land. They believed that they are doing a good job by bringing heathens to Christianity. Now, this is another point that I would like to explain here. Students, in America, Spanish Empire was preaching Christianity. Spain was Catholic at the time, and it was preaching Christianity, and they believed that they are doing a good job by bringing heathens to Christianity. They believed that these Native Americans, they do not know anything, they are polytheists, and we should preach Christianity here, and we should bring these people to a right path. So this was their pretext behind this colonization. Then there are three people whose name you should remember. First of all, Hernan Cortes, and I talked about this person in the last lecture also. Hernan Cortes actually conquered Cuba and destroyed Aztec Empire in 1521. When we were studying Aztec Empire in the last lecture, the lecture about the Native Americans and their America, we studied this in detail. Hernan Cortes actually killed Montezuma, who was the emperor of Aztec Empire, and he conquered the area where today is Cuba, and he destroyed Aztec Empire in 1521. He conquered Cuba and Mexico, the area where today we see Mexico. So he conquered this area, and he started a Spanish Empire in that area in 1521. Then there is another Spanish conquistador, Francisco Pizarro. He conquered Peru and he overthrew the Inca Empire in 1533. Then a very important name, Pedro Menendez. Pedro Menendez was actually a person who was sent by Spanish emperor to start and to settle the first official colony of Spain in America. So, in 1565, he founded first colony of the Spanish Empire, that is Saint Augustine in North America, which is now known as Florida. So Saint Augustine was the first colony of the Spanish Empire in America, and it was the first colony on the land of America because the Spanish Empire was the first to colonize America. So in 1565, Pedro Menendez founded the first colony of the Spanish Empire in America, and it was named Saint Augustine. So we can say that yes, Spain started setting its empire in America in 1521 when Hernan Cortes conquered Cuba and Mexico and overthrew Aztec Empire. So it all started in 1521, but the official colony was settled in America by Pedro Menendez in 1565. So here I have attached a map that shows all the European empires in America. You can see right here, this was the Spanish Empire. This was the area conquered by Francisco Pizarro, Pedro Menendez, and Hernan Cortes. This was the entire Spanish Empire. Okay, so Spanish they settled their colonies in Caribbean, Central America, and South America. This is South America. This right here is South America. This all is Central America. This all is Central America. So they settled their colonies in all these lands. What was the system of government? Well, viceroys were appointed in the colonies to represent the monarchs and administer in these colonies, and the council members nominated officials and drafted the laws and rules by which the colonies were to govern. This was the system of government. There were viceroys and there were a council, and the members of councils were nominated and they used to draft the laws. Then what was the system of society of Spanish colonies? Well, it consisted of several ranks and there was a hierarchy. People born in Spain or people born in America from Spanish parents, they made the upper class. Then people born of mixed Spanish and Indian blood, they were the middle class, and the Native Americans who adopted the Spanish culture, they were at lower ranks and constituted the labor class of the colony. Then at the last of the ladder were the slaves from Africa to work in mines and fields of the Spanish conquerors. So this was all the hierarchy of the society of the Spanish colonies. Now here I would like to mention one thing, that the source of this lecture is the book A Short History of America by Robert V. Romini, and he's a historian of USA, and I studied that book, and whatever I'm explaining here, this is from that book. Now let's study the French Empire in America. Well, European imperial powers were witnessing the great success Spain enjoyed in the New World. And we all know that there was a rivalry between all these powers, the France, Spain, England. All these powers were imperial and these powers were a rival to each other. So European powers were witnessing that Spain is enjoying in the New World and Spain is extorting very precious jewels and precious resources from this new world. So they also followed suit. In 1534, Jacques Cartier was sent by French king to search for a northwest route to New World. They wanted a northwest route to New World, a short route to New World. So Jacques Cartier was sent for this purpose, but he could not find a northwest route. Rather, he conquered eastern half of Canada and some area between the Appalachian Mountain and Mississippi River. There he started French Empire. I have attached a map here also. Here you can say here we have Appalachian Mountain and this is Mississippi River. So here the Jacques Cartier started the French Empire. Then Samuel de Champlain explored the St. Lawrence River and founded the cities of Quebec and Montreal. Here you can see the city of Quebec. It was founded in 1608 by Samuel de Champlain. He was sent by the king of French Empire. And here we have Montreal, 1642. So in purple here, this small territory, I mean it's looking small on the map. This was the New France. New France. New France means the territory, the colony of French Empire in America. Here you have the St. Lawrence River. It is labeled here. So this was the French Empire in America, and it was started in 1534. So how the people of France started living in America? Well, this is a very interesting thing to note that unlike Spanish conquistadors, French people were peace lovers and they were not interested in persecution of Native Americans. In fact, they made friendship with these people and they signed treaties and they made an alliance with these people. Indigenous people, Algonquin, hunted beavers in Great Lakes. Algonquin was actually a collection of tribes, several different tribes made a bigger tribe that was named Algonquin, and the French started fur trade in the area of Great Lakes with these native people, Algonquin. And French people were not interested in settling in the New World. Well, not many French people moved to this New World. They were happy in their Europe and they did not want to move, unlike Spanish people. They just swarmed the new land, but French people, they did not move to New World and they were not even interested in the persecution of these people also. So French Empire was actually inhabited by indigenous people of America, and Samuel de Champlain, he forged an alliance with a native tribe, Hurons. Hurons was actually a tribe from the Algonquin tribes. Algonquin was actually a collection of tribe, and Samuel de Champlain forged an alliance with this tribe, and Samuel de Champlain fought with their rival tribe, Iroquois. Iroquois was actually a rival tribe of Algonquin, and Samuel de Champlain traded guns or weapons with the Algonquin, and he gave them guns and weapons, and he received fur with these people of America. So this is how French Empire lived in America, and this is how they were dealing with things in America. And they did not kill anyone. They were peace lovers, and they were interested in business only. So they traded guns with the indigenous people in return of the fur of beavers. Now we would study the Dutch Empire in America. Well, Dutch came to America in 1609. In 1609, Henry Hudson sailed up the river that now bears his name. We all know that there is a river in America that is Hudson River. So this river is named after Henry Hudson of Dutch Empire. The Dutch West India Company settled their colony named New Amsterdam in 1625. Now here once again, the people of Dutch Empire, they were also peace lovers and they did not want to persecute the people of America. They just wanted to settle in America. They started their colony. They did not fight with the people of America, the Native Americans. They were interested in business like French people, and they did not kill anyone. And the area that encompassed New Amsterdam, it was the area that is today known as New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Maryland, Connecticut, and Delaware. All these states that the United States have today, these states were actually a part of New Amsterdam in 1625. This colony was established by Dutch in 1625 and it compassed the area of all these states: New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Maryland, Connecticut, and Delaware. And I have attached a map also here. It is very good to make map in an exam papers to impress the examiner. So if any CSS aspirant is listening to me right now, just remember that if you draw maps and figures and flowcharts and these kind of things that make explanation easy in the exam, you will score very good in your exam. So don't forget to practice these maps. So here you have this purple Dutch Empire, and this was New Netherland, or New Netherland was actually the empire, and New Amsterdam was the colony of Dutch. And once again, these people were not interested in colonization but in trade of fur with Iroquois. So they started this trade and they traded guns for furs with Iroquois. I have explained it in the previous slide that Iroquois and Algonquin, these were the two tribes and they were rival to each other. So Algonquin used to trade guns with the French Empire, and Iroquois, they got guns from the Dutch Empire. Then New Netherland developed into a culturally diverse and politically robust settlement. Why it happened? Because the people of Dutch Empire, they were not interested in persecution of Native American. So they developed into a culturally diverse and politically robust settlement. They learned many things from the Native Americans. They learned how to fish in America. They learned how to grow crops in America. They were friendly people, so they developed into a culturally diverse and politically robust settlement. Another thing that was good about the Dutch Empire was that Dutch actually practiced the law of freedom of conscience. Dutch were not interested in preaching Christianity or spreading Christianity in the new land. They were just interested in business. So they practiced the law of freedom of conscience. They did not force anyone to embrace Christianity and they did not persecute anyone. So this is a very interesting thing about the Dutch Empire. Another very interesting thing about Dutch was that women also enjoyed civil, legal, and economic rights that English Empire did not enjoy. This is a very unique and very good thing about the Dutch Empire in America. And it all started in 1609. So that's all about the Dutch Empire in America. Now the last European empire in America, that is Portugal Empire, was actually Portugal was also very quick in colonizing America. In 1494, it signed Treaty of Tordesillas with Spain, and it was decided that there is a line 1100 miles west of Canary Islands, and the portion that is at the east of this line, it would be the property of Portugal, and Portugal can colonize this area and Spain would not intervene in this area. So Portugal was actually interested in finding a route to Asia. Portugal was not much interested in America. It was just interested in Asia, in India, in the resources of India. So it did not colonize a lot of area of America. Vasco da Gama, who was from Portugal, he discovered sea route to India in 1498, and they wanted to do trade with India because they knew that India is full of resources, natural resources. And they were inspired by Marco Polo's account, Marco Polo's travelogue. So they were not very interested in America. They just colonized some portion of Southern America here. Here is the territory of Portugal. They colonized the areas that is today known as Brazil, Uruguay, and Venezuela. So the person who came to America from Portugal, this was Pedro Alvarez Cabral. He discovered Brazil on his way to India in 1500, and he settled the Portuguese Empire there. Portugal started of Brazil wood from the Americas, and they did not do much business in America because they were not interested there. They were just interested in Asia. But studies show that yes, they also tried to colonize some part of Northern America. But these were failed attempts and they could not succeed in colonization of North America. They just colonized the South America, and this is enough about the empire set by Portugal in America in 1500 AD. So this is enough about the colonization and discovery of America. We have studied today how America was discovered by Christopher Columbus in 1492, and how all these European powers came to America, the Spanish power, the French, the Dutch, and the Portuguese. We have studied this today. Another European power that colonized America, and that was the mightiest colonizer of that time, was England. But we did not study that today, and we're not gonna cover that today because there is a long story of colonization of America by these English colonizers. So we need a entire separate lecture for that, and the story is still in continuation, and we would study the colonization of America by English in the next lecture, inshallah. So here I found a very interesting map that shows the European colonization of North America in 1750. This is very interesting and very easy to understand. It shows all the routes taken by the people who colonized this piece of land, this continent. First, Christopher Columbus. I don't know if it's clear for you people or not, but just try to see it. Christopher Columbus came here in 1492. This was the route. He came here in San Salvador, and on this island, then he moved to Hispaniola, and then he set his rule there. Then this all in yellow was the Spanish territory, Spanish Empire. They overthrew Aztecs, they overthrew Incas, and they settled their empire in all the Central and Southern America. Then here Henry Hudson came, and I don't know, I cannot see very much. Then John Cabot, he came in 1497. No, this is not Henry Hudson. Henry Hudson is here. He came in 1609. Then Jacques Cartier. This is Cartier. He came here because he was from France, and he settled the Empire of France here in Quebec and Montreal in 1608 and 1642. So this all shows the purple color. This all shows the French territory. This yellow color, this all shows the Spanish territory, and this shows the 13 colonies of England. 13 British colonies. But we have not studied this today. We would study this in the next lecture, inshallah, because there is a long story of this colonization. So all this shows the European colonization of North America, and I thought that this map is very interesting and we should study this, so I have shared this here. And if you want to understand this more, you can definitely understand this. This is the end of this lecture today. If you have any more knowledge or facts related to the discovery or colonization of America, you can definitely leave that down in the comment section, and I would be very happy to read that. This is enough for today. Inshallah, in the next lecture, we will start the colonization of America by English colonizers, and that is a very interesting and a little cruel story. I mean, not a little, that is a very, very cruel story, and we would study that in detail. So don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe the channel Knowledge Realm. Thank you. Allah Hafiz.